Everything is made up of energy. The water in your glass, the wardrobe door, the blanket on your bed, it's all energy in different forms. So how is it that all throughout our world we have all these different densities, different forms of energy turned into physical matter, and it all looks very different, but when you boil it down, it's all made of the same stuff. And this brings us to the law of attraction and how we change energy into matter. Now, a lot of people think of this as some hippy-dippy woo-woo concept, but think of it this way. Everything we have, everything that's man-made that we have, first, somebody had to have a thought. For energy to become matter, it is wave compressed into particle. That is what makes it into something dense, something that we can see and touch and feel. And just like radios and microwaves, telephones, Wi-Fi, they all have invisible rays that we can't see, and yet we accept that they're there because we have learned to harness them into something that can then produce a physical piece of matter, or something that you can physically tune into. A radio, we can physically hear sound from that, and so we accept that radio waves are a thing. Well, our thoughts and our words also have wavelengths, frequencies. And that is why it's so important to monitor the language that we use when we're talking to others, but also thinking in our own mind. Because our mind, our thoughts, are the creators of our reality. They are the creators of what will one day be our future. So if we created everything man-made over thousands and thousands of years, what about before that? Who created the plants and trees and rocks and oceans, gravity? Who was there to think of that? Now, one thing I think most of us can agree on, regardless of your religion or cultural background, is that we had to come from somewhere. You may call it God, you may call it the Big Bang. In theoretical physics, it's known as the singularity, the single point from which we all came. And where did that point come from? Well, I think that's a question that our human minds are just not capable of comprehending. The way that we perceive the world and time and many other things limit our abilities to see that kind of vastness of consciousness. But what it does tell us is that we all came from the same source, and not just you and me, but everything. The rocks, the trees, the water in your cup, the blanket on your bed. It is no coincidence that many people who meditate, perform spiritual or religious practice, and there have even been incredible similarities in reports from people who have taken hallucinogenic drugs, that there is this feeling of oneness, of wholeness, connection to everything, just unity, complete unity with the world. It brings people to a place of joy and love and peace and oneness. certainly not recommended that you should go and experiment with hallucinogenics, but what you definitely can experiment and explore is meditation. And one of the main things I hear from people, those who want to learn how to meditate or have tried it, is that they can't do it. They really struggle with switching off their mind and clearing all the thoughts out. Well, that would be because you're not supposed to clear the thoughts out of your head. That's not what meditation is about. And I think that's become a really, really big misconception over the years, especially as meditation has grown in popularity. So if you're someone who has or is struggling with meditation, or maybe you've even wrote it off, I'd really implore you to try again, and please think of it in this way instead. Just as radio waves and Wi-Fi have a frequency, our thoughts have a frequency, and Source, or the singularity, has a frequency. And we are able to tune into this frequency. And I think it's something that actually should come incredibly naturally to us. But I think over many, many years, we've gotten so busy listening to other things that we've forgotten how to tune into it. So think of it this way. If you had your TV on and your radio on at the same time, and you were kind of simultaneously listening to both things, okay? Maybe you've got a new show on the TV, you've got a song on the radio. And at some point you decide that you want to tune into one more than the other. Now, in order to focus your attention on, let's say, the radio, we want to listen to the song, you don't need the TV to be completely off, do you? We can turn it down to a low volume to where it's not distracting, and we can focus on the radio. We can focus on the lyrics of the song, on the beat of the music. We're zoning in to that specific frequency that's coming from the radio, and we've turned down the frequency from the TV. So when we meditate, what we're trying to do is turn down that frequency around us of not just external noises, maybe it's a dog barking, maybe it's your kids running around the house or someone clattering around in the kitchen, but also your internal voice. The voice that's constantly sending out its own frequency and interrupting frequencies that are trying to come in. So in my opinion, when you are first practicing meditation, the frequency that you want to tune into initially is your body. Your body is a giant bundle of energetic information. It is constantly giving you signs and signals and trying to communicate with you. But you are so busy tuned into all these other frequencies that you just don't hear it until it gets really loud and starts screaming at you. That's when we get pain, disease, illness. So first we tune into the body. Then we tune in to the mind. And that's all of those noisy thoughts that are going around in your head. What we want to do here is not push those thoughts out of the head. Allow them to come in and just as easily allow them to leave. Not holding on to any one thought, we're just letting it pass through. And slowly, slowly turning down the volume on those thoughts. And then we begin to tune in and focus on the frequency of our consciousness. Our consciousness is our true self. The parts of our spirit that when we're not participating in a regular practice, we tend not to know or recognize. We've spent a long time advertent or inadvertently dulling all of the communications that we're getting from it. And maybe we even forgot how to communicate, how to listen to our consciousness. And that is why, particularly in this day and age, meditation is so important, because what it is teaching you to do is not clear your mind of thoughts, but turning down the volume on all of those waste thoughts, all of those thoughts that are keeping you so busy and so occupied that you are not able to communicate with your body, your mind, and your consciousness. And I truly believe that when we are able to do this, and especially on a regular basis, it allows us to know our true selves. It uncovers so many things that we have subconsciously packed away that are preventing our development, that keeps us in pain, keeps us in suffering, keeps us in ignorance, keeps us in numbness. To connect to consciousness is to connect to Source. And to connect to Source is to remember what you are truly made of, is this amazing bright light that came from one singularity and created an entire universe.